Hello YouTube friends, it's Molar and it's another tips and tricks video in our tutorial series. We're going to be talking about disconnecting parts of your city. So if you take a look, this is our little papyrus industry in our Ptolemy's Alexandria mission. We've got a nice little housing block that we're feeding with grain. The grain is set to get from the farming area. We have reed gatherers that supply the papyrus makers, and they put down the papyrus in the yard right here. From there, we want to sell it. So there's a road that goes down to the docks, and this warehouse is on getting papyrus, and the dock is set to trade it. So when things are working well, the dock worker will come here, notice papyrus in the yard, put it on a ship, give you a lot of divins, and float away. On the odd time that he shows up and there might not be anything in this yard, say he's the second ship to come in and the first ship has cleaned this out, he'll see the papyrus over here and he'll take a long silly walk down here to get the papyrus, tying up your dock for however long it takes him to make that trip. There is a clear example of why you might want this dock to not know this is here. And again, we've got a fairly long walk for grain farmers when they make the harvest. If they know that this is there and there's room for it, we'll be having farm workers making a really long walk up here to give us grain. Might be okay with the May harvest because it gives them time to get back down here for the January harvest. But if it's the January harvest, can they make it all the way up here and all the way back down before May? They might not be able to. So that might be a reason why you might want the granary not to be connected to the farm fields. So it's a pretty simple thing to do to disconnect. You would just go down here where I typically would have a roadblock to keep my walkers where they wanted. And now that area is completely disconnected from the rest of the city. No walker will make that trip unless they are set to get. This getting papyrus warehouse will still send a guy down here without a road. This road here is now just for show and pick up papyrus. This granary worker will make a long walk down here to pick up grain from this warehouse and bring it back even though the road isn't connected. So it's just a very simple way, and this is a very easy example of what to do with a disconnect. You're never going to have a papyrus ship going anywhere other than this to get the papyrus. There are other places where I could do a disconnect. Say I wanted to disconnect this little dock section from the rest of the yard, but I am relying on these walkers to come from the fields and drop things off here and here just to keep a large supply of grain at this dock. I don't think we'll ever exhaust these two areas and have the dock workers walk down here. Plus I want to be able to send my mason and my carpenter all the way up to the lighthouse here. This would be an example of it would mess you up if you try to disconnect this from the city. I often use this trick for housing areas here where I have a dedicated supply of pottery and beer and linen and papyrus to keep that disconnected from everything. But in this case, with the road running through, it wasn't feasible to set that up. But here's a very good example of a situation where you can save yourself a lot of grief by having workers do things you don't want them to do and just have this disconnected from the rest of the city. Thank you so much for watching. Give it a try.